Alright, today we've got a Land Rover job. Everybody's been hanging on Land Rover jobs. We have had a bit of a problem with the brakes in this. The Brake Master cylinder has failed. And thankfully, KLR Auto have agreed to assist us. They've provided us with something. So, KLR Auto sent me a brand new master cylinder. Not just a rebuild kit, but the entire thing. So, very, very thankful to them. And these are guys I've been using for years. I've had this for almost 10 years and I've been buying parts from them all this time. It's a real nice change to see them help out. So, hopefully we can do some more business with them in future. But today we're going to get this swapped out because I'd like to go away, get some stress relief, and it's nice to have working brakes when we do that. So as you can see, the difference in colour between the old and new one is indicative of age. Now I can put a rebuild kit in this. I may clean it up later on and do that, but for now we're going to swap the whole thing because we've been lucky enough to get a freebie. So the other thing that I did do is I took some advice at some point in the past, which turns out to have been not the greatest. I was suffering some water ingress in the vehicle, in the brake fluid, so we put .5.1 in. That is apparently not great for the rubber seals, things like that. And I see here that it's calling for .3 only. We might be putting .4 back in, but we're going to swap out and drain out and flush through the .5 and put .4 in it, which is what it had when I got it. So that will be nice, and yeah, we've just got to do a bit of flushing. Okay, we've got a few tools here. We've got some brake line spanners, we've got some Barco ratchet spanners, a set of impact sockets and a decent spanner or ratchet. I've got to mention here as a disclaimer, this is the first time I've ever changed a Brake Master cylinder on one of these Land Rovers, but there is a bit of general information that I do know. So we will need to remove these two lines after we empty the reservoir and do these two bolts. They are quite rusty. I think we might be using some anti-seize on these when we put it back on. In any case, let's get into it. Okay, so I had the mechanic work on this when he did the wheel bearings, and he checked it, he replaced the brake line and topped it up, and he topped it up with 5.1 as I told him that's what was in there. But it's his advice and also my research that suggests we should put .4 back in here. So that's what we're doing. Mechanic also gave me a loan of a little bottle we'll see later on as well. So 14 mil. Let's see if this will move. Oh, actually much easier than I thought. Okay, now I think before I undo the other one, I'm going to undo the brake lines. I know you can bend them and move them out of the way, but knowing my luck, something will bust. Alright, so 14 mil didn't fit these, but a 15 does, and I've got the proper brake line spanners. Let's see. Okay, that's not too bad, but getting it back off the nut now is the problem. Right, number 2. Alright. Bit rusty. Come on. We're not worried about breaking the old one. So, yeah, now that we've got a bit of rust off them, they're working better. But it's got to be done. Okay, now we undo this bolt here. Now, we can't forget our spring washer, which is difficult to get off. Come on. Alright, there we go. Got our spring washer. Alright, 14 mil for this one. You've got to be careful not to knock the vacuum line off the booster. I can finger that off. We may need to remove the header tank for the radiator. Alright, we've got our header tank just swung out of the way here. That should allow a bit of room to come out. I think I've got things right here. I'm going to use some gentle persuasion, and I mean gentle to start with. See if we can just vibrate it off. We'll escalate to being rough if we have to. I see a gap forming there. It is moving. Can we lift up? There we go. Now it's moving, but it's going to take a bit of work to get it off. Alright, there is a gap forming. It's moving. I'm just going to wriggle I have a thought that maybe I could fire it up and use the brake servo to push it out. We're going to try that first. Alright, note to self, with the lines disconnected, don't touch the brake pedal. I'm glad this is .5.1 and not .4. It's not likely to corrode my engine, but we are going through the engine wash after this. Alright, we opened up a gap enough to get high bar in, and that dropped our old one out, which has definitely got some rust and pitting, and there's a lot of stuff going on in there I don't like. So I'm happy to be replacing this. So we are going to have a bit of a look in here, and I think we're going to get a wire brush or something and give this a bit of a clean up. There is a rubber seal in there we don't want to damage, because if this rusts out, I'm going to have to do it all over again. Alright, so I have some anti-seize here. I'm going to put just a little bit of that on these threads. Not a huge amount, but just enough to help should I have to do this again. We don't need much, it just helps with corrosion build up and getting the thing off later. Or it could make it worse. In some cases dry grease can. If I can hear something loose in there, we'll investigate that in a minute. Let's put this on. Give it a good wriggle. Should seat it into there nicely. There is nothing quite like dropping things down through an engine bay and losing them. So let's do a spring washer and one nut. Problem with filming things in tight corners is your hands always get in the way. Do this up firmly. I'll do them up firm, and then I will do the other side, and then we'll come back and tighten them up properly. Alright, now we need to pry these plugs out. I have a Leatherman with a proper tool for the job. We are going to use the can opener side of this. Try and slide in under here and pop plug out. It's going in alright. Pop the plug out. Get this to thread properly, which with the hard lines can be a challenge. And as usual, the RAF roulettes are doing aerobatics overhead whilst we try and film. Now, one thing to remember with brake lines, don't over tighten them, because you can actually bust the block that they're in, and this is an expensive bit to bust. I did it to my mate's Ford Falcon years ago. He bought brand new brake cylinders and over tightened them, and it split the casting. Alright, so that should be firm enough. Now, when you think you lost your 10mm brake line spanner, but it was actually hiding in the 15mm slot. Alright, we're going to put our header tank back, which feels kind of empty, to be honest. That might be the next thing we look at. Okay, I pushed the record button, the roulettes are back again. I had something rattling around in here. I think that was a clip. That's a clip that I have to, that's obviously important for something. I have to go look up what that's for. That is definitely important for something. Alright, now we've got to bleed things, so we're going to open up our brake bleeder. Primarily what I paid for is the fitting to attach to the brake lines, which they put inside the bottle, and it's got a hook on it that doesn't come out easily. This is the bit that I think we paid our money for, as this hooks on to the brake bleeding nipples. So we could use any one of our other systems to do that, but we're going to try this one first. Alright, this is not supplied with a normal fitting as well, so I need to go rob one off one of my other air tools to make this work. Okay, now we fill up our reservoir to start with here. I'm still not sure what this is, and this strikes me as it's probably a fairly important item. I just wish I knew what it was. Let's use our mystery item for opening that. We'll find out what it's for eventually. I'm sure somebody in the comments will correct me. There we go. And then we'll put our bottle in as well. Alright. Okay. Now this goes on like so. Okay. So this thing sits across the top here. We clip it onto the side like so. It sits there and we turn the valve on. And what happens is when the fluid drops, it lets some air into here, like it's doing now. And it will fill brake fluid up until it hits the top of that filler in the end. So as we suck it out, we shouldn't hopefully run dry in the reservoir. That will be nice. Off the back, we're going to loosen our bleed nipple. Okay, I think that's all I need to do. It's an 11mm socket and there is fluid coming out of it. It's kind of what we want. Pop that on there. That worked. Okay, we've got the bottle in the top. Let's suck some fluid through. Well, it's a fair bit of fluid in there. I think it's coming through, and the colour is starting to change, so I think we'll be right. It is a long way up to the front though. Alright, I'm going to call that bled, and we're going to do our line up here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Suck a bunch of fluid through. Alright. Go. Alright, we're definitely pulling the fluid through. That's good. We've still got a little bit more in here. We're going to top up the rest of that. We've only got 2 more brake lines to do. So we're up to the front passenger side, which is going to vary depending on what country you come from. A lot of my subscribers are US. Right, I'll keep my eye up the top. Alright, so we're going to turn the valve off, unclip and tip up. Might put the excess back in the bottle here. I'm going to put the cover on, and we'll see if our brakes are firm. Alright, another problem, that's fallen off the pedal. I have new ones of those to put on. Let's pump this up and see what's going on here. Oh, that's firmed up nicely. Okay, oh, I like that. That is way different. Let's turn it on for a minute. Now, we all clear of the engine?
Yeah, I just moved all this.
Okay. Let's see. Pedal does sync when we start the engine. Okay, with the vehicle running, our foot drops all the way down to the floor here. Although it does stop solid about there. So there is a point at which it doesn't drop anymore. And if I let this sit for a bit, it'll come back and that will come back again. That says to me there's still air in the line somewhere. If I turn the engine off, we can pump it up nice and solid and it'll stay there. So we get nice solid brakes right there, which is where it should be. I think I've got air in the line somewhere, and somebody is telling me that there should be a metering block halfway along too. It's probably got air in it. So we're under the radius arm of the driver's side here, and I see this metering block here. Now there's a switch in here. One thing I did notice when I did this before, the brake lights came on and didn't go off until I pumped the pedal a bit. That tells me that there's possibly air in this block here. Now, I had a thought here. My neighbour said when we were bleeding the front brakes, it felt like there wasn't quite enough fluid getting through, like there was still air there. Out of the top of this block, where the front brakes come out, the rears come out this side. So it could be that we re-bleed the front ones and that should suck some of that air through. Okay, we're back at the desk to help conclude this, and I had to go off and get an infusion in the meantime, so ignore the sticky dot. In any case, we come up with a few things, and a lot of different experts weighed in on what might be the problem here. We did re-bleed the front 2 brakes, and indeed, the pedal is nice and firm now. The sponginess is gone. On the other hand, one of the common things that can go with these are brake boosters, and general advice seems to be when you do a master, replace the booster at the same time. The problem is these boosters are not manufactured anymore and they can be a little difficult to find. However, KLR to the rescue again, they're shipping me off another brake booster. So we're going to make this a 2-parter, and we're going to see them when that brake booster gets here. We're going to talk to KLR again, and again, thank them very much for their help on this project. I've been trying to get hold of KLR for a long time with a video, and I'm really pleased that they're actually agreeing to help me. I don't promote many things on this channel, only things that I have personally used or sought after myself. So I'm pleased that KLR are definitely on board. So there are some links in the description. if you want to use those links, what it does is it lets them know that you've linked through from here, which definitely helps me, and it lets them know if I'm passing people through. So if you want to support me, go and check them out and let them know I sent you. In any case, we'll get back to this when the booster arrives, but I do think we've got basically all the air out of the system now. So I think my booster is just not doing its job properly anymore. So we'll have good results hopefully in the next video. Hope you like this one, and we'll get back to it fairly soon.